Hi, Tim.
Hi, Antoine.
Thank you very much for taking the time for this interview. I know you've had some busy days before today. We'll talk about a lot of things, about Chinese wines, about auctions, about wine valorization, a lot of things like that. But first, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, my name's Tim Triptree. I'm the International Director of Wines and Spirits at Christie's Auction House. And I'm also a Master of Wine. And so, yeah, I'm obviously a judge at the Wynn Signature China Wine Awards. So hence I'm here in Macau. So, yeah, that's me.
So how did you start your wine journey?
Well, I mean, I kind of grew up in a family, obviously not connected to the wine business at all. I mean, I used to drink a little bit of wine, as my parents did, and they gave me some wine when I was a kid. But yeah, I kind of studied psychology as a degree. So I'm from the UK, so from a small county called Wiltshire, so in the countryside in the UK. Not many vines there, obviously. Well, I suppose with global warming now there are some, vineyards obviously planted in the vicinity, but not really in that area. Actually, it's more in the sort of southeast of the UK. So yeah, I studied psychology as my degree. So after university, I wanted to work in banking, so investment banking, which I did. So my first career was in investment banking. So I worked in sort of equity research, helping analysts put their sort of their sort of whether they should buy, sell, whatever, their reports together. So yeah, it was that, I kind of never imagined that, I'd be working in the wine business really. But yeah, I left the banking industry after, I kind of enjoyed it, but it wasn't really, I wasn't passionate about it. So I decided to take a career break and go and learn a language. So I went to Mendoza in Argentina, to learn Spanish.
To learn a language.
Yeah. So I was living in Mendoza, surrounded by vineyards. I mean, obviously, everyone should know that that's Mendoza is the province where 80% of wine is produced in Argentina. So yeah, I got to meet a lot of people that worked in the wine business, and then I kind of thought, okay, well, actually, why not a career in the wine industry? So I kind of did it. I started a sommelier course when I was in Mendoza, did that. And then I was sort of Googling, looking for further education in wine, because obviously I had a CV that was, business like banking. Exactly. Yeah. Nothing to do with wine. So I saw, back in the UK, there was an MBA in wine business management that was offered at the Royal Agricultural University in Cirencester, which is about agriculture, obviously, and they had some experimental vineyards, and so they offered this in their business school. So I kind of enrolled on that course, came back to the UK, did that for 18 months as a mature student in my sort of mid-20s, got that MBA, and then that helped me then at least have some sort of qualification in wine to then be able to get some employment in the UK. So I started working at Majestic Wine, which is a retailer that's quite well known in the UK, and then got the job at Christie's as a junior specialist in 2005.
Okay, so it's been 20 years.
Over 20 years. So yes, exactly. Yeah. So I started as a junior specialist, and I've sort of worked my way up from junior specialist to specialist to senior specialist, and now I'm international director at Christie's. And I guess I mean I can explain what my role is at Christie's, which is so I'm. Yeah, being the international director, obviously I'm responsible for trying to get business, wine and spirits consignments into our auctions internationally. So at Christie's, we have auctions in London, Hong Kong, New York and Los Angeles. So I'm trying to get people to sell their wines and spirits in these locations. I obviously then, the whole process from kind of the inspections, the authentication, the condition reports, I'm involved in that, doing valuations, is a big part of my my job, because we do sell a lot of fine and rare wines that are mature vintages that are quite rare and pretty difficult to price, to be honest, because a lot of the wines we're selling is maybe they're not in the market, it's difficult to find, so that expertise of doing valuations, I think, is key. I'm an auctioneer, so I stand up in the rostrum with a gavel, and
that must be quite nice.
Yeah, it's quite exhilarating. I mean, particularly if you've got a lot of bidding coming, it's it can be great fun. And I'm also I do kind of talks, masterclasses, and sort of act as a kind of wine and spirits ambassador for Christie's globally. So actually after being in Macau, I'm going to Hong Kong, going to Bangkok, and then going to Tokyo, and I'm doing some kind of masterclasses and a few little events just for some key clients, and so that's the sort of thing I get up to, really.
So just to come back a little to the beginning of your career at Christie's, you said you started as a junior specialist. Mm-hmm. What does it look like in terms of like working at Christie's? Being a junior specialist is just like you arrive and you try to find wines. Like what do?
Well, I mean, I guess more back then as a junior specialist, you're more involved in the kind of the processing of the kind of the wines or the auctions. So it's more of a kind of. I mean, there is obviously you're developing that expertise, but it's more about the kind of
second part of the process.
Yeah, the processing. So it wasn't really the business getting, like the sourcing of consignments. That wasn't really part of my remit back when I first started. So it was just learning the ropes, learning how to value wines, learning how to inspect wines. When we're looking at old vintages of wines, I mean, the kind of the condition is key. So the conditions of the labels, the capsules, particularly the ullage level. So
of the wine.
Yeah, exactly. Interneck, base neck, top shoulder, whatever. We need to make sure that everything that we're inspecting is in good condition, is saleable. The colours of the wines are good, and so because obviously we don't want to be putting wines into an auction that is sort of out of condition. If it's a white wine, if it's gone really brown, or if it's a red wine and it's lost its red colour, then that kind of inspection is key. So as a junior, I was kind of told what to do, to be honest, so yeah. But it was a great, obviously, learning experience, and I had great team in London that were sort of instrumental in my career, really. I mean, one of them, Chris Munro, he's still at Christie's. He's head of New York now. But David Ellswood, who sadly passed, he was a great boss, and obviously Michael Broadbent as well, who's a master of wine. I mean, he was around when I first started at Christie's and was pretty influential in my career, and was quite he obviously wrote amazing books, and I mean, I'd asked him to sign one of his books that he'd written, and I kind of read it afterwards, and he'd said, "Dear Tim, I have full confidence in you becoming a master of wine one day." So I was like, well, that I use that as a kind of a motivation to do the master of wine and eventually succeed at passing the master of wine, which is obviously quite a difficult exam to pass.
Coming from Michael Broadbent, it must have been a kind of a good encouragement to then pass the Master of Wine.
Yeah,
when did
definitely.
you go for Master of Wine?
Well, I started studying for the Master of Wine in 2010. Okay. So I'd done the WSET diploma, which a lot of people do, as a stepping stone onto the Master of Wine. So I started in 2010, and then I passed the theory on the first attempt. Then that year I'd failed the tasting. Then the next year I was very confident that I would pass the tasting, and I think I did worse than the previous year. But then I had a gap because I moved to Hong Kong in 2013. So it was a new role in Hong Kong, still at Christie. So it was a sort of a secondment.
Still adaptation to life.
It was just, yes, exactly. Different environment, so I focused more on kind of, that, and didn't really have the time for studying, because studying for the Master of Wine is you have to sort of dedicate all your kind of, weekends, your social life, kind of obviously, particularly around exam time, you're sort of saying, no, sorry, I can't go out, I'm studying. So yeah, and then also obviously the exams are back in London. So for the first 2 years I was living in Hong Kong, I wasn't in the program, but I rejoined and then managed to pass the tasting in 2016. So the blind tasting is what I guess most people struggle with in terms of, they're passing the qualification. So did that 2016 and then took a couple of years over my research paper, which I did on Champagne, which was actually great fun to do because I got to go to Champagne quite a lot, develop a real expertise in the region, in the wines, meet great winemakers.
You've been acclaimed for this thesis as well, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I won the Noval Award, sponsored by Quinta Noval, for the best research paper in that year. So yeah, it was. So that was and so 2018 is when I finally got the award of Master of Wine.
And was it like a stepping stone to becoming an international wine director for Christie's, or was it?
Yeah, I think yes. I think it helped. Yes, it was. It helped, but yeah, I think it was. It was a stepping stone onto that. But
and so your thesis was about Champagne, but
yes.
What specific?
So I looked into the use of reserve wines in Brut vintage and assessed over a 20-year period whether there'd been any significant changes in the kind of the use or of reserve wines in Brut vintage. So I found over that sort of 20-year period from 95 to 05, I guess I was studying. 2015. That the use had significantly increased of reserve wines. So Champagne producers were using much higher proportions of reserve wines in their Brut vintage. So producing a more complex style, a richer style, rather than a kind of more of a sort of well, obviously reserve wines add that sort of aged element, that complexity. So I think it was it kind of was related to dosage levels as well. So during that time, as reserve wines were going up, dosage levels were coming down. So there's a relationship between those two, because obviously dosage, adding sugar was a way of kind of masking that sort of raw base kind of vintage that was the majority of Brut vintage. And so, if you add more reserve wine, then you don't have so much of that raw sort of very acidic base wine. So you don't need, so much.
Sugar, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're based in Hong Kong still?
No. So I moved. So I was in Hong Kong for 4 years. Okay. So 2016, I then moved back to London, and I live in London now.
How do you source the wines that you're selling? I guess it's a kind of a battle with all the other like agencies, or I don't know how we say.
I mean, it's competitive. Yeah. It's very competitive out there. But I mean, obviously, well, Christie's is an auction house. So yeah, we've been doing sales since 1766. So that very first sale that James Christie did included wine. So we're continuing that kind of tradition today. So I mean, that obviously helps because a lot of people around the world, know the Christie's brand.
Christie,
So we do get quite a lot of people approaching us, but then I also have to be proactive and try and contact people that, I think have big collections, and try and convince them to sell their wines and spirits at Christie's.
So, I guess you must have your method, but like you look for people recently buying old houses, people like I don't know, like succession in big families.
A little bit like that. I mean, yes, there's obviously many different elements to getting wines. I mean, there's we've at Christie's. I mean, we have got a big network of colleagues around the world. We've got offices, I think, in 40 different countries with representatives that are very close to kind of the collectors that are in these respective countries and cities. So a lot comes through them. But I mean, doing things like going to Bangkok or going to Tokyo and meeting up with clients, that's a good way of developing business. But I guess well, we quite often say that death, divorce and duties. So I mean, if people have a big tax bill, maybe they might sell some wine, or but I mean that's a bit of a joke. But it's but nowadays it's, I mean, we look back and see who potentially has been buying a lot of wine from us over the last few years,
and then you can
because a lot of people who are collectors of wine probably will collect a lot of wine and decide, okay, well, maybe if their tastes change or their circumstances change, or they just realize that they've got far too much wine that they can ever drink, then they're probably ripe for selling through Christie's.
Yeah, or maybe they want to like sell part of the collection, buy new wines after.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have a cellar that goes wider in diversity and.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to monitor your cellar as well, your collection. You can't. Wine has a finite life, so you've got to maybe replenish it with younger vintages, and collectors are often sort of selling some of the older stuff and buying some of the newer vintages.
So there are two things that are super interesting about China, I guess, for you. And so we can like do these two parts. The first one is about the Chinese clients, because I guess over the past 30 years, the number of Chinese clients to Christie's and the interest to wine by Chinese must have surged dramatically. And the other part of the question is the interest for Chinese wines. I guess that 20 years ago, it was, I won't say impossible, but I guess that Chinese wines were not even a topic for auction house. I guess I don't know if it's changing yet, but maybe in a few years you would start to have really expensive Chinese wines and rare Chinese wines that you want to auction as well. So these are my two interrogations. So maybe we can start by Chinese clients.
I think the big catalyst for this was 2008, and when the duty on wine was reduced to zero in Hong Kong, and that led to a boom of interest in wine in the region. So certainly, yes, since then, it's been hugely important to the wine industry in general, really. The fine wine industry certainly. That was very important. Obviously it's hugely important to Christie's.
And maybe not only China, but also Asia, Southeast Asia, or in general.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people will maybe store their wines in Hong Kong nowadays because of the ease of getting wines into Hong Kong, and then they come to Hong Kong and enjoy drinking their wines in Hong Kong. So yes, exactly. And then getting to your question about wines from China, yes, they don't appear in the secondary market really. I mean, maybe
still a bit young.
Yeah, I think so. But certainly, from the wines I've been tasting in the awards, there's certainly potential for these wines to be appearing in the secondary market. I think obviously, there's some famous names, the Ao Yun from LVMH, the quality is getting higher than ever. I've been doing this competition wins for 3 years now, and I think each year the standard of the wines that we're tasting is been higher than ever, and obviously I can't give anything away about who's won, I don't know actually who's won. Everything is done blind. So, but I do know that we've been awarding many more medals this year than previously. So I think the standard is higher than ever. And obviously, I think it's a sort of a virtuous circle, because doing something like the Wynn Awards, where you're rewarding those top winemakers in China for their wine, so they get recognition for what they're doing. that gets obviously fed back. So, then there will, there'll be more sort of, I guess, well, obviously they'll be happy and emotional and that inspiration for, improving further. So, I think, who knows? Yeah, in the future, I think there could certainly be, wines from China in appearing in the secondary market.
And even for others, it can be a good benchmark and inspiration. If you didn't get a medal, you still have the feedbacks from the judges.
Yeah.
You can taste your neighbors, see what's going on, why did they get a medal, then you try to improve and and on and on.
Definitely, yeah, exactly, yeah. So I mean, we, as judges, when we're judging this competition, we're writing tasting notes for all the wines. So, and if there are issues with certain wines, then we quite often would give that feedback. So I think it does get back to the producers, so they can obviously taste the ones that are winning, but also if they haven't won awards, then hopefully they're getting some feedback from us saying okay, well, so they can then improve what they're doing.
So Chinese wines are not yet represented in auctions because for the factors that we've discussed. But over these last 20 years, did you see kind of a rotation on the type of wines that you're having in auctions?
I mean, definitely. When I first started at Christie's in 2005, I mean, Bordeaux was very dominant in the kind of the secondary market, the fine wine auction market, and Burgundy was just a small portion of that. And then since 2012, then I think there's been a big boom in interest in Burgundy. So initially, I guess it was red Burgundy, but now both red and white Burgundy has become very popular. So that is I guess a significant change. I mean, Bordeaux is still really important for the secondary market. At Christie's, we sell a lot of Bordeaux, and I mean the quality coming out of Bordeaux is exceptional nowadays. I mean, it's the wines being produced there are better than ever. So it's still vitally important. But Burgundy has obviously taken some of that market share. But there's been a diversification in the market since then. I mean, we're seeing wines from Italy appearing on a regular basis. I mean, the Super Tuscans, they're like, here to stay. Wines from Spain, the top wines, Vega Sicilia, Pingus, that sort of thing. Yeah, and then, I mean, even, some, wine, Australian wines, a few from Chile, I guess, and Viñedo Chadwick. We sold some wines from them last year at Christie. So there is certainly a bit of a diversification in the market. But I mean, I guess France dominates what we're doing at Christie's. So it's the French wines are still. I guess you're from France.
Yeah.
So you'll probably be happy to hear this.
I'm happy about that, but I think it's also like you have this difference in the market. Like it's been a few years that we experience amazing wines from around the world, but I guess for the time it reaches the secondary market, you have like 10 to 20 years before it's on par with the rest. So like maybe those rising stars in like 10 years is gonna be almost equivalent to Bordeaux or Burgundy in your volumes.
Yeah, well,
maybe not, but there's still a lot of wines in Bordeaux and Burgundy to sell. So
who knows? I mean, I think probably Bordeaux and Burgundy will still be dominating things, but I mean, obviously, I think there will be a bit of diversification, but I think France is still going to be dominating. I think. Yeah.
And in the place where you have auctions, so you told us you have 14 different offices in the world.
40,
sorry.
Yeah. But we don't, I mean, those offices don't necessarily do auctions. Okay, so the auctions are in particular locations. So for wine, it's London, Hong Kong, New York and Los Angeles. That's where we have wine sales. But I mean, we have auctions in other locations.
Other categories.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Christie's is we sell all sorts of different things from
watches,
watches, cars, classic cars now, handbags. Art is probably, obviously art is the main focus of Christie's business.
Do you see different taste depending on this location for wine? Like people in Los Angeles tend to buy like a lot of Burgundy, and people in Hong Kong a lot of Bordeaux, or
a little bit. But it is a global marketplace nowadays, and so I think there are some small kind of differences, but generally, what sells well in London and sells well in Hong Kong and vice versa. So I guess maybe. Yeah. So I don't think there's much difference, because we have people are buying. Like if you're based in Asia, you'll probably also be buying in our sales in London, for example. So there's a bit of a maybe there's some peculiarities, such as like vintage port probably does better in London because we've got that sort of tradition of drinking a lot of vintage port, whereas in Asia perhaps not. So, but generally it's quite similar in the different locations.
Yeah, plus the education, for example, about port must be super different. Like in France, we drink kind of low quality,
a lot of ruby port.
A lot of ruby port. For dessert or like beginning of a dinner. So I'm not sure we would like bid a lot to vintage port.
Stuff. Sort of like a 1931 Kitchener Val or something like that. Yeah, that will sell well in London. So
I will still drink it, but
okay, Well, it's one of these. I think the best port I've ever drunk is that particular port. So
So you've been doing this Chinese Wine Award for 3 years now.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about? So I think you're a senior judge or co-chair.
Yes, a senior judge. Yeah.
So senior judge. So how does that work? I guess since you're kind of someone who comes here often now, how do you introduce a bit Chinese wines to some people? I guess some judges are not super familiar with Chinese wines.
Yeah.
So how do you try to tell them the stories of Chinese wines? How do you?
Well, part of about the awards is we have a great kind of educational seminars at every morning before the actual awards. We have for the last 3 years we've had like a lecture about particular wine regions in China or that sort of thing. So
it's a judge is doing that.
Well, one of the so we've had like great lectures from Professor Ma and Professor Li from universities in mainland China, who are they're experts in Chinese wine. So we've been having that expertise given to us about So it's a great. So actually, one of the benefits of coming to this awards is that I am actually learning a fair bit about Chinese wines. And then we have masterclasses at the end of the judging day. Which don't necessarily involve Chinese wines, but it's a good way of learning. Yesterday we had Jasper Morris, MW, doing a masterclass on Burgundy, so that was a real highlight. Tasted some very nice Burgundy.
Yeah.
But I guess going back to your question about me sort of influencing, we don't need that, because we are getting that information from
elsewhere.
Yes. Yeah. And then, to be honest, when we're judging completely unbiased. So, we're just judging the quality of the wine. We're judging it as is it sort of complex? Is it harmonious? Is it balanced? Has it got all those elements that wine should have? I think you maybe you don't really need to have that background information. If you're judging wine, you don't really get that much information, to be honest, because you don't want to be influenced by you've got to as a professional judge, you've got to be impartial. You've got to judge it on its merits, on what you taste in that glass.
How does this type of award or this type of ratings influence auctions afterwards? I guess for you on the Bordeaux Burgundy, this is this is important?
I mean, critic scores are yes. I mean, I guess they are important. So yeah, I mean, it does. It's maybe I think it's maybe less important now than it was maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago when some of the critics were extremely sort of influential. I guess Robert Parker would give a score, wine a score of 100 points, then that would lead to a significant
massive surge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, so I think less so now. But I mean, I think scores are people look at scores. They have obviously confidence in wines that are scoring highly. So I think it does influence the market a little bit, but less so now than previously.
What is the craziest auction that you did? Like, do you have a specific memory of a day you were doing an auction and something?
Well, I mean,
happened?
It probably when we sold. I mean, this was back in 2018, and we were offering a bottle of Macallan, 1926. So a bottle of whisky from Scotland, and I mean, it was an incredible day because it sort of smashed the world auction record. Going over, it sold for £1.2 million for one bottle. So that was kind of pretty incredible, and I've been involved in the whole process from trying to helping with the vendor getting the bottle into sale, and then also trying to obviously then once we got into sale, trying to find people that were interested in buying it, and it was amazing that we obviously that it was an amazing day and did extremely well. So yeah, that was a pretty amazing day. So I remember when when the hammer went down, and I mean there was a round of applause in the auction room because I mean it was a pretty historic day, smashing that sort of £1 million barrier, and I mean it was significantly more than anything that had ever sold before. So yeah, that was pretty exhilarating.
I guess selling one bottle for 1.5 million euros must be crazy.
Yeah.
How do you? So a question that is always present on the secondary market for every item is authentication, whether it's for watch, bag, or I guess a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And it's why I guess people tend to go to big auction houses, is that you have this like kind of stamp of quality and checks. How do you make sure that what you propose to the people is real and true?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously,
for wine.
Yeah, for wine. Yeah. Well, it's very important. It's crucial really. That we make sure that everything that we're selling is authentic. So I mean, obviously the expertise that we have at Christie's over many decades. But I mean, initially it's really like provenance is key. So where have these wines and spirits come from? So if we don't get that information from the vendor, then we tend to just walk away. So say sorry, you can't give the provenance for that bottle of Romani Conti or whatever. So we need that sort of trail of like where it's come from, that to verify that where it's come from. So if we have any doubts, obviously we just we can't accept things for sale. So people can have the utmost confidence in what is being offered for sale at Christie's.
So like a good point, if I have wines that I want to sell to Christie's, is having the invoice for this bottle, actually.
Keep the invoices. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have a team. So I guess you test, you evaluate the quality of the bottle, what you were doing as a junior specialist. So level of the wine, quality of the label, type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you also have like a team checking the quality of the wine in a way or another? Or
well, I mean, if we would ask for tasting samples of but quite a lot of the actual kind of cellars that we go and see, in situ, like where it's been stored. So, I mean, recently I went, there's a potential vendor. So I went to that country, had a look at the storage conditions to make sure that I was happy with, how they'd been stored. So that's, it's, so we often do that.
You must see crazy things in
interesting places where people are, some great wine cellars. I mean, some fantastic wine cellars that I've been lucky enough to see. But yeah, a lot of our wines are, stored in professional storage warehouses. So that's
bit less romantic.
But yeah, but exactly.
Like a cellar and
a sort of secret door. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You've seen like James Bond type of things.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yes, similar kind of things. Yeah, with like retina kind of sort of scan to open, like the doors, just and or thumbprints and all that sort of stuff, and people converting all sorts of areas of their houses into wine cellars when they get that collecting bug. I suppose you want to keep your wine in amazing conditions so some interesting things that I've seen.
Can't wait to do it for myself as well. I will definitely do this James Bond type of things, retinas, fingerprint, everything. Thank you very much, Tim, for this interview. I want to make sure we stick to the timing that we followed, but it's been super interesting to learn more about your journey, learn more about your perception of Chinese wines, like perception of Chinese wines in auction house as well. I'm sure we're gonna see Chinese wines in like 20 years, probably.
Auction house. Hopefully, it may be sooner. I
have 3 last questions that are a bit of a tradition in this podcast. The first one is: do you have a book recommendation for me?
Well, I mean, I think I would have to recommend Vintage Wine, which is the book written by Michael Broadbent, which I still use as a reference today. I mean, it's got like he tasted some like incredible wines and was meticulous with his note taking. So I think that would be, I mean, that's the book that he actually signed and was my inspiration for studying the Master of Wine and becoming a Master of Wine. So I think that book is kind of, even though it was published a long time ago, I still use it in my daily job. Referring back to older vintages of wine that I've never tasted, but obviously Michael was lucky enough to taste and getting his sort of opinion on that. And so that would be my suggestion for a book.
It's a difficult recommendation because then you want to taste the wines actually described.
True.
I had this experience with a winemaker in Burgundy offered me a book by Jacques Rigaud about, so it was like vintages in Burgundy from 1875 to today.
Okay.
And so the guy actually tasted like all the vintage and wrote a note about whether the wine by itself, like all that type of things. And then you read that and you're like, maybe I should taste it. And then you look at the price on Christie's and you're like, no way, I'm tasting that today, but maybe in a few years. Do you have a recent wine that you tasted and that you found amazing?
Well, obviously I should say that it was one of the Chinese wines that I've just tasted in the judging competition. But obviously I have, there were some great wines in there, but obviously I have no idea what they were because everything is judged blind. So all the bottles are completely covered up and you don't know what it is. But I guess, I mean, I think one of the sort of wines that sticks in my memory is a Mouton Rothschild 1945, which I had on a couple of occasions, and it's like an incredible wine. So I think that probably would be my kind of standout wine, I think. Amazing vintage 45, and I mean, it's incredible how it's aged. I mean, it's still like going strong. I mean, it's an amazing wine.
Never tasted a 45, but tasted a few Mouton Rothschild specific occasion. It was already amazing. Okay. So I can just imagine what 45 looks like.
Yeah.
And finally, who is the next person I should interview?
Goodness. I mean, I don't know who you've already interviewed, to be honest, but I mean, I know perhaps another Master of Wine, maybe. I mean, Jancis Robinson. Have you ever interviewed?
Never interviewed. We did a lot of Master of Wine, but Jancis, not yet.
I think, Jancis. I think maybe try and get in touch with Jancis and see if, she's lovely and she's great. I mean, she's been so influential in the wine world, and she's a great person, and I think she's obviously based in London, so I guess you'll have to come to London.
It will be a terrible moment, but if we can still meet Jancis and have nice glass of wine, it will soften this difficult moment of being in London.
In London,
but we're based in Hong Kong, so it's okay.
Okay.
Now we have this adaptation to double decker and that type of thing.
Okay, yeah, well, exactly. Well, there's literally like that casino, the Londoner, just across the road from here, that's got like London buses and Downing Street and various things, so you can get a little taste of London here in Macau.
Yeah, true. True. Thank you very much for all of this, Tim. Thank you for taking the time. If you like this interview, don't forget to like it, to share it, to subscribe to the channel, to do everything you already know. Thanks a lot, Tim, for taking this time. I wish you beautiful auctions, I guess, for the future.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we've got 2 auctions happening today, actually, in London. So one starts at 10 p.m. our time here, 2 p.m. in London, some Karazawa, so Japanese whiskey, and then at 10:30 Macau time, it's going to be some amazing Burgundy from René Engels. So yeah, we've got lots of amazing auctions coming up, and also in Hong Kong at the moment, we've got an online sale that runs until the 17th of March. So check out Christie's website, because it's some amazing kind of Bordeaux, Burgundy, particularly highlights some great First Growth, Lafite, and a great collection of Petrus as well, being sold out of Hong Kong. So look at christies.com, please.
We'll put the link in the description to this episode. Thanks, Tim, and see you soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nice. It's always crazy, these stories of auctions, discovery.